listening to the Sportz Hive podcast.
Oh, Wade, what a play! Wow!
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Sportz Hive podcast, where we provide you with all the buzz surrounding the sports world. I am Jacob Hyde, and alongside of me, I have my co-host Luke Hoffman, and also joining the show today is going to be Carrick Jackson, and he is the host of our new show, or his new show, I should say, The Fantasy Wire. Today is Wednesday, March 18th, 2020, and we've been off for a couple of weeks, but the biggest news the past couple of weeks is the coronavirus pandemic that has been swiping around the world and swiping around the sports world. So that is where we're going to lead off today, and we're going to also talk about some NFL and MLB news as well. So without further ado, let's get it going. So as I'm sure all of you have heard, all of you guys listening have heard that the coronavirus has swept through not only the U.S. and the whole world, but it has also swept through the sports world. And over the past week, it's been canceling different leagues and all different sporting events around the country. And it all started in the NBA, where the NBA suspended their season after Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus. And then it led into Donovan Mitchell obviously getting tested, and he tested positive. And actually yesterday we heard about 4 different Nets players that got tested, and they came back all positive. And one of those players is superstar Kevin Durant of the Nets. He is coming off that Achilles injury, obviously. So he has been tested positive for the coronavirus. So Luke and Carrick, what are your overall thoughts on this pandemic, and when do you think sports will actually come back? Carrick, you can go first.
Carrick can go first. Yeah, go ahead.
I definitely agree with everything that each of the general managers and commissioners of each league have chosen to do with everything. Adam Silver, as soon as he heard the news about Rudy Gobert in the NBA, he decided to close it down right away, just to protect the players, protect the fans. Obviously, prior to that happening, there were talks about having games without fans being in attendance, and they planned on it for the Warriors game that was happening that week. But since the news came out, there was not really much else they could do at that point. So the decision to close all of these leagues down or suspend them for a certain amount of time is definitely the right move in the sense of prevention of spreading this disease.
Yeah, and obviously there are people on Twitter or on social media that are mad about this decision, especially in lieu of the NCAA tournament coming up. That was supposed to be coming up this week. A lot of people were sad. They were showing their emotions about how the NCAA, they just abruptly ended the season, and the seniors don't get to play in the tournament that they worked so hard for. But like you said, it's the right thing to do with stopping this disease, because there's no cure, I don't think, that they have found yet, or a vaccination that can stop this virus from spreading, other than us basically quarantining ourselves. So Luke, what are your thoughts on this whole thing with the NBA stepping up first to stop it, all the other sports following?
Yeah, they have to do this. I know the vibe just kind of changed within one day. That it was that Wednesday that all that happened, last Wednesday. The day before, it was actually the Ivy League was the first one to cancel the tournament, and everyone was just completely shitting on the Ivy League.
Yeah, I was one of them, actually. I was pretty mad about it, because I was.
And within the day, the whole vibe changed. As soon as everyone started canceling, everybody knew, like, we got it. Like, something's wrong here. Like, if players are getting it, now we're up to 7 NBA players, 2 minor league baseball players. Like, obviously they had to do this.
Yeah, and
I don't think we'll see sports till at least June.
Yeah, I think, and even our President Donald Trump said that this whole thing could be going into June or July. This whole coronavirus
I'll be
thing.
out of July, man. I'm going to Marlins game. I got a whole Miami trip planned for July, bro. But at this point, I might be at opening day in Miami.
Yeah, so talking about baseball, what do you think? How do you think they would go along with the season? Would they play the whole? I think they would cut
I think
games.
they'll just cut the season. If they start in July, they'll probably just cut the season in half.
Yeah, I know I had a couple people ask me about that, and I was talking to them about it, and I just didn't know if they would play double headers for a couple like weeks or for a couple of series.
I think they'll just play probably around 81 games, maybe more or less.
Yeah, and that's cutting a lot.
Especially if it's July, they might even I don't know, they might just I don't know what happens with the All-Star game now if that's the case, because they'll be right around then. They just make it like an August, September thing, but or something like after the regular season, before the playoffs.
If they play less than 100 games, that's cutting a lot of games from the season.
Yeah. We just have to hope at this point the NBA continues as long as the NHL. I mean, obviously the NCAA canceled all their spring sports as well, which is super tough. But
yeah, and
I wish Kobe would have been here since his season got affected as a D3 baseball player, so he could speak what he thinks. But
yeah, and with those spring sports, the NCAA did come in and say that those seniors of the spring sports can get an extra year of eligibility to their senior season, obviously. And they were also talking about doing it with the winter sports as well. But I honestly don't I don't know what to think about giving those seniors an extra year of eligibility in basketball, because with all the recruits coming in and the top players coming in and playing time for different players and transfers and just all that can get affected by all these seniors like Peyton Pritchard, Miles Powell, Marcus Howard. And all those players, if they come back, it would just affect their own team and the playing minutes that could be sorted out there. But the one thing I liked about the NCAA obviously canceling all their tournaments was last week, Thursday or Friday, one of the two, they came out and said that one of the CAA conference officials that officiated one of the games, he actually tested positive for the coronavirus. So, I mean, you don't know how many players were in contact with that ref and how many people like touched him or were near him. So if those players didn't get tested yet, those could be, you don't know how many players in the NCAA that could have this virus. So that's the one thing that I liked about the NCAA canceling.
And the thing is that most the NBA players that have it say they don't have any symptoms. We have no clue how many people in the country or in the world have it. There could be so many, and it's just spreading like crazy.
Well, and just like
that's why.
Just in Wisconsin today, it was like or yesterday, we heard or they canceled or they closed. The governor closed all the restaurants and bars because it went up from 47 to 72 in one day, and you don't know how many other cases are not like.
There's probably a lot more that don't have any symptoms.
Yeah, or the tests aren't
going out doing.
Yeah, it's just it was just a overall good thing that sports, honestly, as much as people don't like it and as much of it how it's boring to just sit and watch reruns or just not watch sports at all, it was the right thing to do to stop the spread of this, and hopefully at some point within the next couple of weeks or maybe a month or so, sports can actually come back to live television. But another thing connected with the coronavirus is the owners and players of the NBA, and they're donating money for all the concession workers and all the staff at their respective arenas. And we heard about the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He donated $100,000, and the Bucks came out and said they were going to match any player on the Bucks donation. So Giannis donated $100,000, I think, and then the Bucks matched that. And I think also Chris Middleton donated another $100,000 too. So it's a good thing to see players doing that. But I think all the owners, and I know Mark Cuban did it for the Mavericks, but I think
Zion,
yep,
Love,
yeah, I think more owners should do it as much as they make, and I mean as much as the players and owners both make. I think they can step in and help their arena staff that actually make the games happen when they play. So I hope to see more of that come. What are your guys' overall thoughts on that? And do you think do you think you'll see more of that coming in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I hope the owners are the ones that step up because they're the ones who are making billions of dollars. It's kind of ridiculous that Zion Williamson, a 19-year-old rookie, has to step up before
His own, yeah,
the owners.
Yeah. Carrick, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Lucas. I feel like the owners should be taking more ownership, no pun intended, in terms of this stuff because a lot of these people are working directly under them, or at some in some way branched off of their part in terms of the team because technically they are part of the team in some sort of way. So I feel like the ownership of the team governors is a huge factor that needs to go into this.
Yeah, so like you guys said, I hope to see the owners step up and do something for the staff that work at the arenas. And obviously, this is the coronavirus episode. That's the biggest news around obviously the world. Not even the sports world. It's just around the world in general. But this is a sports podcast, so in the sports world, it is affecting every league, every major league, and it's just it's sad to see that all sports are practically gone, and a lot of people are just like, what do we do now? Like, what do people with sports not do? Like, what do they do for fun? And it's just, honestly, when I got home today, I was bored out of my mind. I was just sitting with ESPN on because obviously NFL free agency is a later topic in the show, and Carrick will be leading that. But if we have nothing on with the coronavirus, the biggest news in the world today, we're going to move on with some MLB talk and Christian Yelich, the Milwaukee Brewers. He actually got an extension. I honestly don't know the exact numbers. I'm sure Lucas can tell us, but I forgot the exact numbers. But he got a major extension with Milwaukee, and I think he'll be in Milwaukee for the rest of his career, I'm assuming. So, Luke, what were the numbers on his contract exactly?
It was 9 years, $215 million starting this year, which actually, I mean, it is big money somewhat, but at the same time, it's a very team-friendly deal for the Brewers. I believe it comes out to about $27 million or something a year, which compared to guys what Mike Trout just
Mookie Betts. Yep.
Betts is probably about to get Cody Bellinger. I mean, this is super team friendly for the Brewers, and they're going to be paying him till I believe 2042, I think, in deferred payments. So they're not paying big payroll each year. This is really team friendly. I know this feels like ages ago because we haven't recorded a podcast since then. This is like a week and a half old, but it's still big enough news for me to put it on here.
Yeah, I mean, we're not just going to sit here and talk about the coronavirus. We could talk about the coronavirus all episode long, but I honestly, being a Brewers fan, we had to keep Christian Yelich. He's obviously one of the top players in the league and in his position. And he's a fun player to watch, especially in the clutch. And when we got him, I was like, this guy is. I didn't really pay attention to him in Miami, with reasons why the Marlins were pretty bad. But I knew once we got him, and I knew he was a star. I mean, I knew he was a star on the Marlins, but I knew once we got him, he was going to make a big impact for the Brewers, and that we were going to have to keep him. But we will be keeping him for a long time. So, Carrick, as a fellow Brewers fan, how do you feel about this contract extension for Yelly?
I feel great. I mean, this guy, Christian Yelich, is going to be a perennial MVP candidate, perennial hits leader, home runs leader. This guy is just a pure slugger, especially in the National League. Him and Cody Bellinger going neck and neck is always going to be a fun sight to see. And the Brewers locking up someone like him, especially as a guy like Ryan Braun is in the latter stages of his career. I feel like is just a huge move by the Brewers. And to the people that think he was overpaid, I mean, look at the Bucks and look at Chris Middleton. It's the same situation, and he's just going to be a huge piece for the Brewers moving forward.
Yeah, I mean Christian Yelich is basically like Giannis for the Bucks, honestly, in star power. If I were to connect basketball and baseball, I don't know if you guys agree with that, but I'm assuming you would.
Yeah, I would say Christian Yelich. In my opinion, Christian Yelich is the second best position player in the league behind Mike Trout. I would take him over Mookie Betts. I'd take him over Cody Bellinger. Anyone else other than Mike Trout, I'd take
Oh
Christian
yeah, he
Yelich
is.
over. So
He is definitely a player. What do you? I know this MLB segment is obviously going to be really short, but I'm just going to extend it a little bit. I'm going to ask you guys about the Brewers team as a whole. What do you think? What do you guys see them doing as a team, and what do you think? Obviously, with the regular season being collapsed game wise with the coronavirus outbreak, but when they start playing again, if they start playing again, what do you think the Brewers' record will be?
they'll be around 500 this year. They have a lot of holes. They don't have any super bad players, but they other than Yelich, they really don't have a lot of star power. They may sneak into the playoffs like another wild card, but I don't see too much potential in this year's team.
All right, Carrick.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I feel like a lot of star power went to a lot of other teams in the National League this year. I still feel like the Brewers are going to come in as an underdog team throughout this season. I did like what I saw a little bit more in terms of Orlando Arcia's batting from what I saw in spring training.
Oh yeah, yep.
So hopefully he can keep that going into the season, and that would definitely help the Brewers out big time. But I don't really see them going as far as they have these last couple of years this season.
Yeah, I know Arcia's bat really struggled last year, and it was nice to see. I know I sent a couple of videos in our group chat, and we were talking back and forth, and he had a couple home runs in spring training until it got shut down. But one last question with the Brewers: do you think they will finish above the Cubs? I don't know if they will, but just a fun little question.
That's going to be close. I think those two might be 3 and 4 in the NL Central. Right now, I would have Cincinnati and St. Louis at the top of that. It's those two are going to be really close though to watch.
Yeah, I have to agree with that one completely.
I mean, I think everyone's going to have
Yeah.
Pittsburgh at the bottom of the NL Central. Cincinnati's been looking really good with Mike Moustakas being added.
Well, the Reds
But
were supposed to be good last year with the additions that they got, but I mean,
yeah, I think they improved more even this year, and it's gonna be weird in the NL Central. They got a lot of
Definitely.
just decent teams.
yeah, it's gonna be a fun race in the NL Central, and hopefully the Brewers can surprise all their fans and actually make it as far as they have been in the past couple of years. So that just about wraps up our MLB talk for this show, and I'm gonna hand it over to the Fantasy Wire host, Carrick Jackson. I'm going to hand it over to him for the NFL news since he has all the lists of the notable free agency pickups and signees from today's news and or yesterday's news, and I mean, just overall in NFL free agency. So, Carrick, it's all yours.
Well, before I even get into free agency, I want to talk about an entirely different topic with the NFL, and that is the recent collective bargaining agreement that was voted on by the players. And through almost 2,000 votes, it was a 60 vote split in favor of accepting the collective bargaining agreement, which some of the main points of that being one less preseason game, one more regular season game, up to 17 now. One more team makes it into each conference for the playoffs, making it 7 teams per and 14 teams total, as well as one team having the bye. And a little toss in there would be the drug testing deal, which would be a no suspension policy. My personal take on that is I definitely like that take. For certain things, I felt like there was a lot more that I did not know about the CBA prior to the voting, which kind of made me on the fence with it. But I definitely feel like at the end of the day, this will benefit the players. Another key point that I saw in the CBA was that they cut down the amount of padded practices um, during the course of the season and the preseason, um, which is huge. I mean, one of the players actually explained it really well. When you have a padded practice in football, that's about 50 to 60 snaps of full go 100% effort. You are hitting people in a padded practice for 50 to 60 snaps, and taking that away or lessening that, I feel like kind of outweighs the one extra game in the regular season. So I'll ask for you guys' take on that. Let's start with you, Jacob. What do you think of the new CBA policies coming up here?
I honestly like it. I really like it. If you were to ask me, like you did, um, I like the to start. I like the one less preseason game. I mean, it gives one less game for the second, like the backup quarterback race or the starting quarterback race if you were in that position as a team, and just like it does give one less game for like the third string and people that are trying to make NFL teams. It gives them one less game to do that. But as a fan perspective, I think it does add a lot more to the game. It gives there like a lot of people don't pay attention to preseason, so giving the fans one less game and one more game in the regular season to fight for playoff spots at the end of the year is another thing that the fans will like, and I do like. I also really like the addition of one more team in the playoff, and only one team, which is the one seed in in each conference, will get the bye. Obviously, which is I think what it should be. Um, if you get the one seed, you should be the team to get the bye. I mean, if you connect it to college, like college basketball and their conference tournaments, uh, the first four seeds get the buys, but or double buys. But I mean, in the NFL, I think the top team in each division should truly get the bye because they deserved being the top team in the conference, honestly. And I don't know if you've heard this, but I think I saw it, and I think I don't know who reported it, but um, they said that like 500 players or 500 people did not vote on the new or on the they did not vote at all. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if you saw that, but I think
It is.
I saw something like that, but I don't know how much that would have affected the voting. But I'll let Lucas give his take on this whole thing.
I'm fine with everything except for the 17th game from a fan's perspective because everyone's looking at this like this is more football. But I mean, let's be real. Even with 16 games towards week 13, everyone wants the playoffs to come. Like, I don't need another regular season game. I really don't care. Like, that's honestly my take here. Like, I'm glad they're getting rid of more preseason games. I'm fine with them adding in a playoff team on each conference. I'm definitely fine with the drugs or the drug suspension policy. I'm fine, I'm fine with the drugs. You know what I mean?
Josh Gordon is pretty mad at that right now.
You know, I'm cool with all that. It's just like I think everyone's gonna be ready for playoff football a lot earlier, and it's gonna just drag on a little long because sometimes the last playoff team doesn't even come down to the end. So we may see just more meaningless football. Who knows?
That is true. I think.
Yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, at the end of the day, um, they gotta had a. They're. I mean, it's gonna be hard for them to take it down from such a big number like 16 to even like cutting it in half, like at an 8 game season. But
I don't think they
I
should cut
definitely
it.
agree with that.
I think 16 is fine. I'm just saying I don't think we need more.
Yeah, yeah, I agree from a fan perspective as well that an extra game is kind of, I guess,
Especially if you're giving us an extra
unnecessary.
playoff team, then like that kind of gives us more excitement for the
I
playoffs.
only said I liked
Right.
it because if there were different divisions that were still fighting for a playoff spot, or like two teams were fighting for a playoff spot, adding another game would be pretty cool to see as a fan perspective. But like I can also see on your side where if there is no playoff push for a team, or like if there's no competition at the end of the year, just adding another game, and it could increase for injuries at that point.
Yep. So if there's nothing else about the CBA that you guys want to talk about, we can move on to free agency, which has officially opened as of today. And since these last couple of days have passed, so many names have gone off the board, especially at the quarterback position, receiver position, tight end position. We've got a lot of names coming through there. So we'll start with the quarterback position. Obviously, the biggest name in the league being Tom Brady. His decision to leave the Patriots, and by the end of yesterday, Adam Schefter had reported that his team will most likely be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, moving him from the AFC to the NFC. Let's start with that. What do you guys think about that?
All I gotta say is Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady in Tampa.
Absolutely.
That's the championship game. NFC.
That's going to be a game to watch,
I think,
especially because the Super Bowl this year is in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, no, there is a regular season. I think the Packers play in Tampa this year, so yeah,
they do. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, that could be the
fun.
championship.
When
Yeah,
you get a
Yeah.
Rodgers Brady playoff game.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
We were supposed to in 2014. Obviously, we don't talk about that, but it'd be a fun game.
That is another big question.
As far as his fit with the team, though, he obviously has weapons now. You have Mike Evans, you have Chris Godwin, you have OJ Howard. You have weapons, so he has no excuse to not produce there.
Yeah, that was my next question is how do you think that the Buccaneers are going to fare this year? I mean, was the quarterback the position that they needed? Obviously, I mean, you got a guy like Jameis Winston who, aside from the fact that he led the league in passing yards, still
Jameis Winston is literally
this past
Stephen
season.
A. Smith called him the defensive player.
Jameis Winston is the unanimous GOAT in my opinion.
All right, Jacob. Why do we have Jacob on this thing?
Cap.
All right.
You guys can move on.
Right. My question is, what do you guys think the Patriots are gonna do at quarterback?
Dude, I've heard that I've seen a couple of people say that like maybe they'll bring in like Jacoby Brissett, especially after.
That was my take, and we're gonna get into the Colts in a bit, but
especially with Philip Rivers going to the Colts, yeah.
So I know Cam Newton's up there. I know Andy Dalton's out there. I know there's another name I can't think of it, but there's names out there.
I mean, Cam Newton could be out there too because I think Teddy Bridgewater went to the Panthers today or yesterday.
Teddy Bridgewater. We're gonna get to all that, Jacob. Just relax.
Let's start with the Colts. We're gonna move on to Philip Rivers. His choice after 17 years to leave the Chargers and now is going to Indianapolis to play with the Colts. What do you guys think about that move for Philip Rivers? Is that the right move? How will he fit with the Colts? What is the Colts' playoff chances looking like? What do you guys take on that?
Lucas, you got this.
I don't know. Philip Rivers was just kind of okay last year, if not kind of bad. But I mean, maybe a change of scenery is needed. It's just that he did have some really good receivers, and he still couldn't really make that work. So, I'm kind of indifferent at this point on Philip Rivers doing anything. Obviously, they had Jacoby Brissett last year, and we just talked about him possibly going to the Patriots. He'll probably be traded regardless. But yeah, I don't see much of a change for the Colts.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly that. Like Philip Rivers, he did have pretty good receivers in LA, and he had Melvin Gordon as his running back as well. And I mean, he moves into Indy with T.Y. Hilton at the receiver position, so I don't know if that changed anything. But like you said, and like I was gonna say, he He had good receivers in LA and really didn't do anything. And then I don't know what I honestly don't know what he's going to do in Indianapolis. It's a 1-year deal. So, I mean, he might retire at the end of the year. You never know. They might keep Jacoby Brissett maybe. And then once he retires, Jacoby will take over for the Colts again. You never know. I honestly don't know what's going to happen with the Colts. I could see them as like a borderline playoff team, but
I mean, with the another playoffs team.
yeah, anything can happen. Anything can happen.
That last spot. So
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
right.
definitely be on a 1-year deal. It's kind of just tossing it up in the air in terms of what the Colts have in mind with Phillip Rivers and Jacoby Brissett. All right, our next quarterback in this so-called carousel, Ryan Tannehill. The Titans chose to keep him instead of pursuing a guy like Tom Brady. They think that Tannehill is their guy. They kept Tannehill so that they could franchise tag Derrick Henry. Is keeping Tannehill the best option for the Tennessee Titans?
I mean, probably, but they still overpaid by a lot. But it's probably the
right it's deserved. It's deserved.
Other quarterbacks they could have got. I mean, he played well, but he got like almost $30 million.
It's well deserved for what he did. For what he did in the playoffs and led the Tennessee Titans into the playoffs last year. It's deserved. It's deserved. I'm happy.
Was the comeback?
I'm happy for Ryan Tannehill. He is going to lead Music City to a Super Bowl in the AFC. I guarantee it.
Listen to
me. Listen to me.
What if New England gets you Goat Boy and Jameis Winston?
That I don't know. I honestly don't know. It'll be an AFC Championship game of the Patriots and the Eagles. I'll see. We'll have to see that matchup.
Oh my God.
That'll be a topic for a different time. All right, moving down the list here on some other kind of minor quarterback trades here or pickups. The Oakland Raiders choosing to pick up Marcus Mariota despite still having Derek Carr in their system. What is that saying about the future for the Vegas Raiders?
It means I have no clue because I don't know what's going on there. One day they say they love Derek Carr, the next day they're signing quarterbacks. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it's definitely a toss-up in my mind too. I mean, Marcus Mariota does still have that potential. I mean, obviously a former Heisman Trophy winner, and the quarterback position has kind of been in the air, I guess, in terms of the Raiders. Derek Carr kind of had a hot start, and
you know what?
Yeah, Derek Carr's hot start, and then he's kind of.
You know what this means for the Raiders? It means Super Bowl caliber team. Just kidding.
Why is Jacob on this podcast?
Is every team a Super Bowl caliber team?
No, but like they surprised us last year, obviously, and I mean, Josh Jacobs is an outstanding running back, and I honestly really liked Marcus Mariota early in his career. I had him on my fantasy team, and he was a GOAT on my fantasy team. Yeah,
and that's why you lost
every game. Like 30 points for me every game. So honestly, I don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback there, but
everyone, take your takes to @WorldOfCollege1.
Please bring them to me. Bring them to me. I will respond to you.
Takes.
I will respond to you, and I will make an argument.
There's a reason his name is not World of NFL.
Moving down the list here, we've got Teddy Bridgewater not re-signing with the Saints, instead choosing to be potentially the next starting quarterback and franchise quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. What do you guys think about that? Is Teddy Bridgewater the quarterback that the Panthers need?
I mean, he's cool. I don't know. He did well in New Orleans last year. Obviously, he had that terrible injury when he was with Minnesota. I don't see. He's not amazing. I'll say that. I mean, he's a good starting quarterback. He's when he's a backup, he's the best backup in the league. So he probably deserved it.
In the fine words, oh wait,
Do you
go
think
ahead.
he'll?
Go ahead.
Oh my God.
No, you
I-
go ahead.
That's some bullshit.
In the fine words of
I shouldn't have let
in
him
the
talk.
fine words of Booger McFarland on SportsCenter yesterday, the Carolina Panthers offense is looking for precision, and Teddy Bridgewater is a precise quarterback, so he is a good fit for Carolina. That is what Booger McFarland said on ESPN yesterday, and I just quoted that, and that is my take on this whole thing. I think he'll fit pretty good. I'm like the Bill Walton. I'm like the Bill Walton of this podcast. Honestly, I really like it.
Slow down, bud.
Oh my gosh.
This is why we're on a
Do you think-
2 week break. Anyways, continue, Carrot.
Do we think that Teddy Bridgewater is going to enter next season as the starter for the Panthers?
I think so. Yeah.
Absolutely. They're going to be getting rid of Cam
Glad we
Newton.
all agree.
I mean, they paid him like $21 million a year. They're paying that to a backup. I mean,
Speaking of Cam Newton, now, I guess not technically a free agent, but he's on the market. The Panthers came out and said that they had agreed to trade him. Cam Newton said that he felt that he was forced out. Regardless, he's out there, and there are teams that need him. The Patriots could need a quarterback. The Chargers need a quarterback. The Redskins technically need a quarterback now that Keenum's out,
Bears might too.
but they still do have Dwayne Haskins. The Bears could use him. What is the best fit for Cam Newton?
I think he might go to the Patriots. I think the Chargers might be there. Those would be my two options right now for Cam Newton, honestly. Obviously, the Patriots are just going to throw anything out for any quarterback. They're not going to be starting Jarrett Stidham or whoever their starter is right now on week 1. So they might try to throw anything they can throw out there to get Cam Newton or Jameis Winston right now.
Yeah, I feel like if I were Cam Newton, I'd look at the Chargers and see that, I've already got weapons out there. They've got Keenan Allen, who's still going to be with the team next year. Melvin Gordon could still potentially re-sign, unless somebody else picks him up between now and then. But the team is there for him in Los Angeles with the Chargers. So I think that might be one of the better fits for him in the long run.
The thing with the Chargers is I think they are. I mean, they're definitely looking for a quarterback, but if they don't get one, I think they'd be fine with rolling Tyrod Taylor out there.
Jacob, what are your thoughts?
I honestly don't know where he could land. I don't know, or who would sign him or who would pay him. So I have no comment on this one.
That's fair. All right, I got one more quarterback here, and this one's kind of a little bit of a stir the pot type deal, but it's Case Keenum going to Cleveland. Now, Cleveland's already seems to have their weapons set down with Baker Mayfield at the helm, but how much does Case Keenum stir this pot in Cleveland? Will he emerge as a starter at the end of the preseason?
If Baker Mayfield plays like he did last year, then
I don't even think then. I think they're just going to try to keep rolling Baker out there. I don't really think they care at this point.
yeah, but look at
they might try out
what
Case
Keenum did with Minnesota.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I just don't see them rolling Case out there over Baker. If it gets really bad, like if Baker's like just like straight up awful, like last year he was bad, but if he becomes like just throwing
like the GOAT,
yeah, not even that. Like if he just throws picks, like 2 picks a game, like yeah, they'll throw Case out there.
All right, now moving on to one of the biggest free agency trades that there was this weekend, and that was the Texans and Cardinals. The Texans sent DeAndre Hopkins and picks to Arizona in a trade for running back David Johnson. Now, I'm going to ask who you guys think the winner was in this
Don't even
trade,
ask.
and I'm pretty sure we can all agree. But I'm assuming you guys are all going to say the Arizona Cardinals.
This was the worst trade of all time in the NFL, probably. The Texans took on an aging running back who had one really elite season in 2016 and hasn't really done anything since. He's been injured every year. He's on probably one of the worst contracts in the NFL. And then they traded like a second-round pick with that and they got back DeAndre Hopkins, possibly, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the NFL. Like when you're trading a bad contract, or when you're trading for a bad contract, the point of that is to get compensation back. You're supposed to be getting first-round picks, second-round picks when you get a terrible contract like that. Not only did they not get compensation for that, they sent out probably their best player because J.J. Watt's unhealthy every year. So probably their best player that actually plays. And
best offensive player,
yeah, for sure their best offensive player. And another draft pick. Like what is Deshaun Watson thinking right now? What is Bill O'Brien doing? What is in his head? He's probably the worst GM in football after that trade. They need to fire him ASAP. But wait. If Bill O'Brien is listening to this podcast somehow, send J.J. Watt to Green Bay. I guarantee you'll send you a 5th-round pick back. And that's all I'm gonna say. Jacob, you're on the
All right, yes, yeah. This trade was probably the most stupid trade I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, probably more stupid than me. I think. But here's my take on the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals. They get DeAndre Hopkins.
He don't have him in the Super Bowl.
No. They'll be a playoff team. They have DeAndre Hopkins, best receiver in the league. They have a second-year Kyler Murray. He's gonna jump the hurdle, and he is gonna have an outstanding year. And in the NFL draft this year, they're gonna draft former teammate of Kyler Murray, and that is wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. So both sides there, he's gonna have DeAndre Hopkins and CeeDee Lamb, and he's gonna have Larry Fitzgerald, obviously. But they're gonna be a playoff team. That's my prediction.
See, I'm ready for it. I'm ready to go to some Cardinals game next year.
See, that take wasn't even bad. That take was good.
Yeah,
it's you. So
dude, my takes are amazing.
It's definitely going to be interesting watching the Cardinals this season. Moving down the list, another big name wide receiver. Moving on from Minnesota, Stefon Diggs, choosing to join Josh Allen in Buffalo this year. There definitely seemed to be some turmoil in Minnesota between Stefon Diggs and the Vikings organization. Seemed like they handled it fairly well in terms of keeping him around for the year and still letting him play.
Give me 1 second, you guys.
But now he's chosen to move on. And how do you think the Bills are gonna be with a prime receiver like Stefon Diggs?
I honestly do like the move. Obviously, Stefon Diggs wasn't. I don't know the whole situation. And I don't know what his emotions were and the Vikings as an organization was, but I don't think he was happy at some point last year. And like you said, they did a good job of keeping him in there the rest of the year and letting him play and do his thing. And then obviously getting rid of him in free agency. I do like the Bills wide receiver core. I know in one of our partnerships, the Blue Collar Media, one of the guys is a Bills fan. He was talking about how with Josh Allen and that receiving core, it's going to be a really fun team to watch. So I honestly like the move by the Bills. What do you think, Eric?
I think it's a perfect move for the Bills. I mean, obviously the Bills were a playoff team last year, with Cole Beasley probably being one of their better wide receivers on that end. But adding a speedy wide receiver, a powerful wide receiver like Stefon Diggs definitely gives Josh Allen another exceptionally great weapon, and bolsters their offense tremendously, as well as some of the other offensive linemen that I know they've gotten during this period. But Stefon Diggs definitely is going to help the Bills in terms of their playoff run this season. What is your take on this, Luke?
Oh, sorry.
We'll just skip him. I think he's doing something right now. Well, we'll move along.
He's a little Luke's a little busy right now, so we're gonna move on. There was a slew of tight ends moving around the league this year, and I'm just gonna run down this list, and then I'll have some questions for you guys afterwards. So Hayden Hurst, first tight end to move, went to the Atlanta Falcons. Austin Hooper, who left the Falcons, was picked up by the Cleveland Browns. Jimmy Graham, from the Packers this year. From the Packers this year, moves on to the division rival Chicago Bears. Jason Witten leaves the Cowboys after his long tenure with them to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. And Blake Jarwin hangs around with the Cowboys this year. Now, of all of those tight ends moving around, which one do you think will have the biggest impact
I
for their
think
new
Austin
team?
Hooper will have the biggest impact on the Cleveland Browns. But if you want my realist answer, I think Jason Witten going to the Las Vegas Raiders was a great move. No, just kidding. I think he needs to go back in the booth and be a reporter. I don't know why he went back to the Cowboys last year. I honestly don't. He should have just stayed up in the booth and called some football games. But in all seriousness, Austin Hooper, obviously he was pretty good with Matt Ryan. Also, he was on my fantasy team, and he was pretty good for me too. So I think with Baker Mayfield, I think that it'll be or Case Keenum. I think that he'll be not only a red zone threat, but just a threat overall, with obviously Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, he definitely being one of the younger tight ends in the league. He's definitely made his name known during his stint with the Atlanta Falcons, and this definitely gives another weapon to the Cleveland Browns. And having Kevin Stefanski at the helm, who was known in Minnesota for his two tight end sets, I feel like he fits in well alongside David Njoku.
I would
Luke,
go
what do you
Austin
think about
Hooper
this?
is the biggest tight end signing, but I'm still. I mean, I told you guys already. When it was discussed about the Packers possibly signing him, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, he's a really good pass catcher, but he's just super slow. And him being the highest paid tight end in the league, I wouldn't sign him if I was a GM for that price. He's just way too risky, in my opinion. But it gives Cleveland another weapon to go alongside Odell and Jarvis Landry. But I'm just not a fan of Austin Hooper. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of Austin Hooper for that price.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right. Once again, moving down the list here, a few linebackers. The Packers are flipping some of their linebackers. Blake Martinez, who was one of the tackling leaders last season. Him and teammate Kyler Fackrell both choose to go to the Giants, and in return this offseason, the Packers choose to pick up former Browns linebacker Christian Kirksey. Now, the Packers did lose out on getting Corey Littleton to the Vegas Raiders, but would you say that the linebacking core is one of the biggest needs for the Packers moving forward in this free agency session?
Yeah, they somewhat filled it. I wasn't as excited as a lot of people because Christian Kirksey does have a lot of injury problems. I think he's only played 8 games in the last 2 years combined. He is a great leader, and when he plays, he can be a pretty solid player. I'm still not too excited about it, but I see upside.
What do you think,
I mean,
Jake?
I like it. I mean, obviously, as a Packer fan, I like the move, but like Luke said, he has injuries, and we'll just see how he plays. I mean, honestly, that's what it comes down to. Is you have to see during preseason, you have to see during the season what he does,
Definitely
how he fits. I don't know. They have to get another tight end. I believe they have to get a tight end filled. So with Jimmy Graham leaving, but other than that, they might go for a receiver, like maybe another receiver with Devontae Adams. I think they'll need. But other than that, I honestly don't know if there's any other position. I know
those are definitely some of the
I don't think got that off
necessities for the Packers.
I don't know who, but I forgot his name. But he
I
got
believe his name is Rick Wagner.
yeah,
Yeah, they
From
got a new right
Wisconsin.
tackle. Yep.
Wisconsin.
All right, Carrie, who's next?
Another one that happened kind of earlier in free agency was the decision by the Jaguars to give Calais Campbell, recent Walter Payton Man of the Year winner, to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Calais Campbell being one of the premier pass rushers and run stoppers in this league bolsters the Ravens defense tremendously. What is your guys' take on the Jacksonville Jaguars choosing to give him up?
I know my guy Joe mad. My guy Joe is mad. The Jaguars have just been giving up all their top defensive players for the past year, starting with Jalen Ramsey, and
Yep.
they were just on a downward spiral. They were super close to getting to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and now they're just cooked.
Yeah, they
I
turned
mean,
into one of the best teams in the league to one of the worst teams in the league in a span of like 2 years. So nothing really going for the Jaguars. That's my take.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like in terms of the Ravens, it definitely helps
Stacked
them or
defense,
helps
yeah.
their already
Honestly,
stacked defense. Heading into this next season. And they're definitely going to be a playoff contender once again. There's no doubt about that. All right. If there's nobody
did you
else
talk
that you guys
about
have in mind,
DeForest
that's
Buckner?
pretty much been this free agency. That is true. DeForest Buckner did make his move to the Indianapolis Colts. To play on the opposite side of obviously Phillip Rivers, who was the biggest name. But still, the Colts get another huge pass rusher for them on the interior of that defensive line. What do you guys think about that?
This is the more important move for the Colts than getting Phillip Rivers. If anything's going to make a difference on the Colts, it's going to be this one. The 49ers did get a decent haul. They did get the first round pick from the Colts, I believe 13th overall, which is huge for a team that just made the Super Bowl. But they did lose one of their top defensive players at the same time. So this is very interesting for San Francisco. This does come down to, I mean, when you have a stacked team, you have to pay them all to keep them around, and DeForest Buckner was the victim of that, where he had to go because they wouldn't have the money for him when his contract came up. So that's what this came down to.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like the 49ers had to choose between their interior defensive lineman in terms of which one they wanted to keep, because they did end up signing their other defensive lineman whose name escapes me. But this move it definitely almost seemed like it was forced upon the Niners here. Jake, what do you think
obviously,
about
it's a big loss for the 49ers, but for the Colts, like you said, honestly, I mean, it's just a 1-year deal for Phillip Rivers, so it wasn't, and I think he's going to retire after that. So it really wasn't a go-to move for the Colts, but I think this one, like Luke said, was bigger than Phillip Rivers. I don't know. Just I agree with what you guys said about it. He's just going to add a pass rusher for Indianapolis on the defensive end. So
Definitely. All right. Are there any other names that I'm
think
missing?
so. Yeah, I don't think so.
All right, and that's the end of my session. I'll turn it back over to
Yes.
podcast leader.
All
Jake.
right. So we obviously, with the sports being shut down due to the coronavirus pandemic, there is no daily segment session for this episode. But I do want to take a couple minutes to talk about our new partnership with the Blue Collar Media. Shout out to them. They recruited us in, and we will be on their radio network. And if in lieu of the Daily Pick segment, if you guys do not follow me on Twitter already at World College One, you guys can follow along with the Blue Collar Media 2K League. I'm struggling so far, honestly. I'm 3-5 in the year, but I made a couple big trades for my bench, and I am on the stride back up towards the top of the conference with the Milwaukee Bucks. So you guys can follow along with that and follow not only our social media, but the Blue Collar Media Group social media as well. Big shout out to them. And we like to thank them for bringing us in and getting our podcast and content out there. So if you guys have nothing else, that just about wraps up the show for today on this Wednesday. We do have a new schedule for the summer months, and then we are going to be changing back into the fall, or it might be we have a spring schedule, and
We
then
have a spring schedule. We got a summer schedule coming up, and then we'll have a fall one.
so we have that all on our social media, and we will have our social media linked in the description below on YouTube, and you guys obviously can listen to all of our shows that we have going on YouTube and the Anchor app, plus many more. So if we have nothing else to say, we will see you guys here next week on the Sportz Hive podcast.